Ti ricordi quella sera che per gioco tu baciai? Sembrava solo un'avventura.
We're here for another session at the Stablecoin Conference in Mexico City, powered by Bitso Business. I've had an amazing time. We're in the podcast booth for 2 days, sitting with the top voices in the space. I'm here with Raj from Mainnet, head of Stablecoins and Payments. All right, man. So let's start here. This is not our first conversation, so I don't want to dive too deep too quick. Let's start with the intro. I actually haven't heard the new intro yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still working on it. It's still pretty fresh right now. By the way, I have to say, this is an amazing podcast studio right now.
It's cool.
This is awesome.
We'll definitely do this again.
And also, like, the Stabledash production quality, man, is like top notch. So kudos to you guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, there's the quick intro. Started my career at Visa. I was always nerding out about payments. I was building out a security platform for banks. At the intersection of security and payments, went down the crypto rabbit hole. And then realized, like, this is an open source system that can move money at the speed of the internet. Like, this is insane. We've never seen this before. And I was like, why aren't we using this at scale? And then second half of my time at Visa, I was leading crypto products globally, launched stablecoin settlement. This was 5 years ago now, which is crazy. I feel like I've seen it all in the stablecoin space now. And then from there, the infrastructure we were building at, for stablecoin settlement was like non-existent. Like, there was nothing that was built, bespoke or real for stablecoins. Left to build Portal, we're a stablecoin developer platform. Power companies like Bitso. Bitso was actually one of our original customers, believe it or not. So this is like a really cool homecoming for me. Just seeing like Vogel and Ben Peters and like the team over here. And then from there, we work with a bunch of companies from freelancer platforms, neobanks, everyone kind of building with stablecoins. We were recently acquired about a few months ago. And so Portal is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Mainnet Foundation, operates independently. Portal's still exactly business as usual, still building our chain-agnostic infrastructure, while I also lead Mainnet in the stablecoin payment side.
That's so interesting. Okay, so I'm being selfish and I need to just ask more about this like early Visa chapter.
Yeah.
Because every time we've spoken, you've kind of like
gloss over it.
You gloss. And I think that's such an important part of your journey.
Yeah.
I was sitting at dinner with Pete Wexler, I believe.
Yeah.
He's talking about
OG
like
Visa
Kai and this crew there. Bring us into the early days of when this became clear, and then specifically what you did about it. Like, launching what you just said at Visa is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Bring us into that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think first off, as you can imagine, when I was first at Visa was tolerating crypto companies, Coinbase back in, like, we were just tolerating these folks.
Tolerating them.
Yeah, at the edges. There wasn't like a dedicated team or partnerships or BD to be like, yeah, these are like, the most transformative companies. We need to be working with them. I would very much say tolerating. And then, Coinbase launched their Visa card. It was like, and everyone at Visa thought it was cute. It was great. It was like,
this was the Marqeta issued card or something.
Yeah, back in the day.
I had that card.
Yeah.
That was like one of my first, like, oh shit.
There was do you remember the Shift card back in the day too? There was like the Shift card, which was like this third party that worked with Coinbase also back in 2015 time.
Okay.
I spent $100 of Bitcoin buying the Shift card. I'm still like so bummed I did that. But I saw some of this early glimpses of, Coinbase kind of coming up. They're leaning into like this whole notion of enabling consumers to like use crypto. Obviously, like, a lot of the notion was like spend your ETH, spend your Bitcoin. It didn't really quite catch on. And then around that time, the Facebook Libra Association kind of came about, and Visa was actually a member of it. And so I was in the front lines of kind of seeing the Libra Association evolve. It was like, us, it was Stripe, it was MasterCard. There was, a ton of really like incredible companies. And then, I think for us, it was like, it became an accelerant to be like, okay, we have these, Coinbase is getting bigger. This whole Facebook Libra Association is like really big as well. We should
For those who don't know, because I bet half of the people who are listening to this don't know what happened with Libra. Just give so significant.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think it's one of those, big, like, watershed moments in crypto where, Facebook legitimizes crypto by building out a consortium of about 25 to 30 companies, key names, like Visa, MasterCard, et cetera. It was like a watershed moment. Facebook cooked up this concept of we should get the biggest, best companies in the world to form this consortium around a Libra currency. the Move blockchain or the Libra blockchain. And the idea was to get, Visa, MasterCard, Stripe, and a bunch of these organizations to like lean in and to be a participating member and like a founding member of this consortium. So it was really big, made a lot of splashes. Visa was obviously a part of it. So I was on the front lines then.
What was that like for you in that? You were being approached, what sounds like at a time where the company was like not necessarily like super bullish on this stuff yet. You were tolerating it in some
Yeah,
ways.
I mean, it legitimized crypto.
You guys were into it.
Yeah, I mean, it comes to a point where, a lot of companies, when your competitors are a part of something, you're like, we want to be part of it.
We're not going to miss out.
It's, the biggest, some of the marquee names are all a part of it. And so, the Visa leadership was like, hey, I think we want to be a part of this. We want to give it a shot. We need to build a team around it. Like, who knows crypto at Visa? There was, Kai, myself, and that was it. There's only a few of us that even knew anything about crypto at that time. And so I had the fortunate opportunity to be in the front lines then. And then, obviously Libra, what it did is it legitimized crypto. It helped a lot of these organizations around the world actually build a crypto team. And then second, I think what happened was that in terms of the approach, the US government wasn't really excited about this. They're like, wait, the largest company in the world with like billions of users is now building their own currency. This is not that fun.
Yeah, hold on a second. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And so, Zuckerberg, the hearings, and like you have, David Marcus out there too. Like, long story short, like the Libra Association, fell apart. But the cool thing about that is that it actually forced Visa to accelerate our thinking around like, what is
forced acceleration?
Yeah. What does Visa do in crypto? And, you look at the space, like, DeFi summer was actually happening. NFTs were kind of happening as well. And it's like, well, we can't really play a role there. We can't, like, DeFi is like this, it's still like early days. We don't really sure how Visa can work there. NFTs is interesting. And what we did is we actually bought a CryptoPunk for Visa, which is really cool. It still has a CryptoPunk.
How did you acquire it? What wallet did you use?
I can't share a lot of the details around it, like how it actually went down, but
it's not like in a self-hosted wallet that you have or something.
No, it's not, no, not at all. But we made the purchase, and the idea was, we wanted to contribute back into like the ecosystem. There was a lot of vibrancy around NFTs, and Visa's always carried heirlooms around like ancient payment histories. So like the old cards, the old POS systems, all those sorts of like relics, Visa actually still maintains today. And so we got the buy-in from the legal team to say, hey, we think, CryptoPunks are going to be a long-term relic for like the crypto space. And so we should get one. It ended up getting, for the purchase price that we made, which I won't say, it actually gave us like, I think 1 million impressions or something insane when we officially announced it. So that was like our play on the NFT side. And then we had DeFi protocols come to Visa to kind of teach us about it, but there wasn't really an apparent play. But around this time, we know like Tether volume was starting to grow. USDC, was on the map now. It was about.
This is like, yeah.
This is like around 2019 time, 2020 time.
Okay.
And so we knew that, so USDC was on the map. We felt like it was more approachable, it was regulated. Circle was like a, very, highly reputable company. We were like, hey, stablecoins make a ton of sense. Dollars on a blockchain. Visa moves dollars across many different payment rails today. And, Visa is effectively a B2B business with a consumer brand. And so our goal is like, we settle transactions between banks all the time. But going back to my initial point, we're tolerating these folks like Coinbase around the edges. We're like, hey, there's like these new class of issuers that are crypto native that would actually probably prefer to send us stablecoins than fiat, because that's how they run their business. And so this was like a really early glimpse and a wedge into like our thinking, but we were like, hey, stablecoins make a ton of sense for payments. And so we then went into the treasury team and said, hey, we want to basically do an overhaul of like the treasury systems and like embed stablecoins as a part of it.
Because these companies are settling with you directly anyway. Like
Yeah.
Coinbase would have maybe walk through the past and future of like
So the existing flows, you have an issuer on one side. An issuer is one that's issuing a card. It could be, JP Morgan with like a Sapphire Reserve card. They're issuing that card. It can be new class of issuers like Rain as an example that are also issuing cards. And these issuers are then responsible to send those cards to consumers. Consumers are then spending that at a coffee shop, at a grocery store. At the end of the day, there's a batch, there's an aggregate amount that says, hey, you know what? As the issuer, you owe $1 million to a bunch of these merchants. Now, that's really hard for you to reconcile. Like, okay, there's Starbucks there, Walmart there. And so Visa's like, don't worry. What we do is we're going to take all your transactions that happened. We'll batch it up into a large number that says $1 million. So Rain or, JP Morgan will send that $1 million over to Visa. And then Visa would then take that $1 million and split it across all the merchant acquirer banks that are out there. So Walmart's bank, Shopify's bank, they all receive like their net settlement for that day. And so this is happening through Swift. This is happening through over 20 plus settlement currencies today.
And the issuer, like the JP Morgans and the Rains, they can just interface with Visa.
Correct.
And Visa handles the kind of last mile.
Correct. Visa will handle the last mile settlement to the merchants. And so we thought that and this, we're really early. You think of us as a seed stage company within Visa. We're really early right now. The idea was like, okay, well, there's new class of issuers that are out there. Stablecoins are starting to grow in volume. We should probably just accept stablecoins. It's just dollars. And then, when we do the last mile settlement to the merchants, they can still receive fiat. That's our job today, is like we're doing orchestration, if you really think about that, right? Mm-hmm. We're taking the dollars for stablecoins. We're giving out fiat dollars. It could be, BRL. It could be INR. So we're doing that, and we're doing the reconciliation from a treasury standpoint every single day. So it's a really, really simple concept that we knew that was really approachable for Visa. And we figured, why not enable that? Fast forward to today, it's doing like, hundreds of millions of dollars of volume. It's growing even more. As stable coins are growing in circulating supply, it's growing pretty fast.
It's become a pillar. Like that little, in your mind was like, oh yeah, let's just test this. Like that's become a foundational pillar for a lot of businesses themselves who've been able to grow and scale because of that capability.
Exactly. And then what we realized is like, we can learn from that. Before, the settlement only took place during banking hours. Now we could do 24/7 settlement, which is like, oh, that's a crazy unlock.
Yeah.
Because today there's so much risk that Visa takes on over the weekends. If there's Black Friday or like some type of crazy sale going over the weekend, Mondays become a lump sum of both Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And then Monday is like a really big settlement day. Mm-hmm. So treasury teams on Monday are always stressed because of that. And so today, now, and also as a part of it, every card issuer has to give collateral, because what if JP Morgan doesn't pay that day? Then Visa still is giving a guarantee to the merchant that says, we're going to make sure that you get paid. And so all these sorts of things like start to become a lot more efficient. And then I think what really turns things on the heads, and folks like Rain that are really innovating, is that stablecoins are becoming global now. And so you can have a dollar-backed card in Argentina or Bolivia or Colombia.
I can just tell you're so excited about it.
It's amazing.
It feels like the moment, like really like the last few months, like there's been a moment where like it's kind of all these pieces are coming together. It really feels like,
yeah. And it's taken a lot of time, but I still remember when, USDC was at 20 million, 100 million circulating supply, and now it's at, 60 plus billion.
It's crazy.
So, we've come a long way. There's still a lot of work to be done, but, I think some of the fruits of what we've done over the years is compounding faster than we think sometimes. And we, I think it's this is why like all of us are really excited here in Mexico City.
Yeah. It's been fun to be in the space, like working crypto for a while. I think the people who are smiling is like truly genuinely as you are people who've worked in the space when the CryptoPunk stuff was going. Like there were so many seasons of maturity, in my view, that like we've gone through. And it feels like we're finally reaching this moment of maturity where like the core infrastructure that crypto powers is actually proliferating into finance broadly. It's not this like little like thing in the corner anymore. It's a foundational infrastructure. Stablecoins are serving as this like really great first mover use case of like, wow, like, but it's like all the things that got you excited in the first place was like, oh wow, look how this reshape things. It's really cool.
I think it's the equivalent of like sending an email back in the day.
Yeah.
We're like now moving money at the speed of the internet.
Yeah.
And I think and these things take time. It compounds over time as well.
Bring us now into, I know we release this stuff. It's
just fun. I haven't actually talked about that, so that's fun.
Yeah. So you go and you build Portal. This is like now, still operating. How long was the Portal season in your mind? It was like 2 years.
It was about 3 years or so.
Okay.
3 years. Yeah.
You have an awesome co-founding team. Bring in Harry. I worked with Harry. Like you guys were I always regarded and still regard that team as just like really, really good people. Good products, good people. Tell us, maybe use Bitso as like an example. Portal still exists, so you got to shill it a little bit. How was the Bitso? How did Bitso work with Portal?
So we around that time, crypto was like so big around that time, around like Web3, DeFi, NFTs, and so we realized that we needed to build our infrastructure to be agnostic of use cases. So stablecoins were still kind of like in the doldrums, back then. It was like, yeah, we care about it, but only like payment nerds like myself really cared about it. And then what we realized is that, there was more users coming on board. There were more use cases outside of just, buy, trade on crypto. And so Bitso was like awesome early partner for us where they were saying, hey, let's launch a full self-custody wallet within the Bitso app. And so we actually built a full app store that's within the Bitso app where you can interact with DeFi, with like all sorts of different applications also.
Sort of like a base app type thing.
So much like a base app back before. And then over the years, what we realized is that, Web3 and like, there's obviously a series of events that took place with Web3, last couple of years that kind of stalled some of the growth. But we saw is like this underpin of like use cases with stablecoins that started to pop up where I ended up traveling to Colombia, to Mexico, to Brazil. And over again, it was like folks that were building like neobanks. And I'm like, well, back when I was at Visa, of course, I worked with a ton of neobanks. And so that's like the seeds of like, wait, the infrastructure that we have today could actually enable a new form of fintech that we've never seen before. But it's not happening in the US, it's actually happening in LATAM first. So this was ground zero. So I actually ended up spending more time. And I think with the Bitso relationship and partnership, I was able to get more exposure to this ecosystem as well. So where you meet folks like, Carlos at Meru, or like you meet some of these guys, that are in this world. And so I think that's what got me really excited to be like, wait, stablecoins are actually going to make a comeback. So, and I think a lot of us in the space, like saw, NFTs, Web3, and then we realized that the underpins of like the infrastructure that we had to be more patient with was actually the growth in the circulating supply of stablecoins. And once it started to hit, things like Bridge and Stripe happened, and like, Circle IPO. And now the domino effect is kind of going, but we all have to be really patient about it as well.
Yeah, it's interesting how stablecoins as an asset class has become like a core driver for the need and utility of something like Portal. Like as it's a perfect wave that Portal rides.
Exactly.
As more stablecoins get issued, as more chains come out, as more complexity exists, as more businesses realize we could just use these rails, you realize like, oh, I actually need like an accounts secure, flexible infrastructure that I can go build with. I can see how like the order of that is really key as you grow. So bring us now into like the last season here. So you have this amazing, we're in like acquisition season. It seems like the specific acquisition here seems really unique in terms of like the now relationship between Portal and Mainnet. Bring us into that. Like, why did you want to go work with that team? You excited to go do that?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that, this transition that we talked about for like stablecoin first use cases, we started to see a lot of Web2 companies now being excited about stablecoins. And we know, a lot of these folks that are here, that are exploring it deeply. And they started to ask like basic questions, like what chain should I use? Like how should we build this, right? And that's when I was like, okay, we've always been an agnostic platform. Like people have come in like very prescriptive about what they want. Now we're doing like a little bit of work to explain like the benefits of, a EVM chain versus a non-EVM chain, to like, how does like RPC nodes work? But you're talking to a Web2 developer, they're like, I thought I'm just trying to move money. Like I thought we're just moving money from 0 to 1. Like what are all these other pieces that are in place? And so it started to get like a little tricky. And we were starting to have like organic conversations with Mainnet where they've spent the last, couple of years like rethinking the EVM infrastructure from the ground up. And they've got it to a point where they can scale EVM to 10K TPS as an L1, which is like unheard of right now. I think Solana and some of these folks are doing around 2000 TPS. And so for the first time, transactions per second. That's right. And so the first time I felt like,
what is Visa's? Do you know?
Visa's like around like 8,000 to like 10,000 as well. That's different though, because Visa's a messaging layer. So it's actually just processing the transaction, but the settlement happens from what we talked about before with the banks. Blockchains is pretty unique where the settlement's actually happening with the blockchain itself.
So the settlement and message is happening at the same time. So it's even more impressive.
Exactly. And I've always, when I was at Visa, I was like, this is moving money at the speed of the internet. And I felt like the EVM and like the chains world, it's gotten so fragmented and clunky. It's become really difficult to explain to a Web2 company to be like, which one should you use? And so I think now we have the opportunity to be like, hey, Mainnet has actually scaled and rethought everything as it comes to a blockchain from the ground up. I mean, which is why a lot of exciting investors like Paradigm have like poured a lot of money into this ecosystem, is because it can actually be the internet settlement layer that's been missing. And so this combination felt really right. But I think at the same time, like we were really excited about our customers and like what we've done in our growth. We felt like we needed to, continue to have Portal grow and like continue to foster as well. And so Portal continues to operate as a subsidiary while I continue to help like enable the Mainnet ecosystem. We're still an early ecosystem, but we're hungry and we're here to show like what the next gen ecosystem could look like too.
When we chatted last, and we'll close here in a second, but as we chatted last, there were some like things that are coming, things that are around the corner, launches. I don't know even what to ask specifically or what you can and can't say, but anything that has changed or things that you're excited?
Yeah, I mean, one Mainnet is pre-Mainnet. Mainnet's around the corner. I can't say the exact time, but you know, it's
around the corner. So it's still around.
It's happening this year, to be more specific. You know, late Q3, early Q4.
Cool.
That's really exciting. We have like a couple of fun, you know, announcements coming up with some pretty large Web2 companies that I'm really excited about on the portal side too.
Keep us posted on.
And so, yeah, so I think those things are awesome. And then, yeah, I think learning more about the Mainnet ecosystem at mainnet.xyz. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of really cool apps that have, you know, raised capital, that are deployed. We have USDC live on Mainnet as well. So there's a lot of cool things coming up there too.
Amazing. And the incubator, accelerator, I believe you guys are like hosting something in Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
So two things. We actually hosted a hackathon here in Mexico City this past weekend, which was really fun. A lot of cool builders around LATAM that came as a kickoff event before the Stablecoin Conference here, which was really cool.
Any teams to shout out there? That
I have to I'm blanking on some of the names, but there was like some really cool projects that came out of it. And then we're also hosting like the founder residency that's happening in Network State in you know, near like Malaysia, Singapore.
And what is that happening? Is that soon?
It's happening right now, actually. It's happening as we speak. There's actually there's like founders at Network State right now there's about 20 companies or so that are building hands-on with Mainnet right now too.
Awesome. So like the Mainnet team is integrated there and like helping these builders use Mainnet in an effective way as they build their businesses.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, such a little podcast on the networks.
Oh, yeah.
Where technically is that? I don't even know.
Network State, it's like an island off the coast of Malaysia and Singapore.
This is Balaji's thing?
This is Balaji's thing. That's right.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I can't tell you the exact latitude and longitude, but it's somewhere there.
They probably don't want people to know.
Yeah.
You like hop on a ship and like
probably
go into the abyss and then you show up there. Anyway, well, Raj, this was fun, man. It's always awesome to catch up with you. Any final thoughts?
You guys are killing it. This is like amazing. Like I said, the production quality of Stabledash is like really impressive. Thank you for having me. And then, yeah, if you want to learn about Mainnet, mainnet.xyz, and then portal at portalhq.io.
Love it. Thanks, man.
Ti ricordi quella sera che per gioco tu baciai? Sembrava solo un'avventura di palmare.